If you are over the age of 60 and you believe that simply walking more or drinking 8 glasses of water a day is enough to keep you from falling, you are operating on outdated medical advice that could cost you your independence. There is a silent mechanism inside your legs right now that determines whether you will walk with confidence or shuffle with uncertainty, and it has nothing to do with how strong your muscles are. I am talking about the diameter of your arteries. We have clinical data showing that a specific biochemical reaction can widen your blood vessels by up to 30% in a matter of hours, turning a stiff, narrowed pipe into a wide, free-flowing highway. Yet, most of the patients I see are completely ignoring this potential, relying on generic health tips that simply do not work for geriatric circulation. Today, I am going to show you exactly how to trigger this reaction. I have ranked 10 common drinks from useless to life-changing, and the number one drink on this list is likely sitting in your kitchen right now, but you are almost certainly consuming it the wrong way. I am Dr. Richard Coleman. For more than 30 years, I have worked exclusively in geriatric medicine, helping older adults maintain their mobility in the face of aging. My goal today is to cut through the marketing noise and give you the raw biochemistry of vascular health. We are going to fix the blood flow to your legs, and we are going to do it fast. But before we get to the solution, I need to know who is in the room with me. Please pause for a moment, go down to the comments, and tell me which country or city you are watching from. I make it a point to read through these to see where our community is growing. And if you are ready to hear the truth about your health that most doctors are too busy to explain, like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a lecture. Now, let's get straight to the pathology. Why do your legs feel cold? Why do they feel heavy? Why does your balance feel compromised? The answer lies in a molecule called nitric oxide. When you were 20 years old, the inner lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium, produced this gas in massive quantities. Nitric oxide is the signal that tells your arteries to relax. However, by the time you reach your 60s, your body's natural production of this gas collapses by nearly 70%. This is the critical failure point. Without enough nitric oxide, your vessels revert to a stiff, constricted state. It is like trying to pump water through a crushed straw. The pressure rises, but the flow to the extremities drops to a trickle. This is why you have cold toes. This is why you get cramps. And most dangerously, this low-flow state encourages the formation of microclots that can lead to catastrophic vascular events. The medical establishment often prescribes blood thinners or compression stockings, but these are band-aids. They manage the symptom but ignore the root cause, which is the chemical inability of the vessel to dilate. To fix this, we need to introduce specific compounds into your bloodstream that force your body to restart that nitric oxide engine. I have analyzed the top 10 beverages touted for circulation, dissecting their chemical profiles to see which ones actually work in a clinical setting for seniors and which ones are a waste of your money. We will start at the bottom of the list with the drinks that, quite frankly, barely move the needle. Coming in at number 10 is regular water. This might shock you because every doctor tells you to hydrate. Yes, dehydration makes your blood thick and viscous, which is terrible for circulation. But here is the nuance that is often missed. Rehydrating simply returns you to baseline. It does not enhance your circulation beyond what is normal for your age. If your arteries are stiff and narrow due to a lack of nitric oxide, drinking a gallon of water will not widen them. A study in the Journal of Applied Physiology confirmed that hydration in older adults improved blood flow by a mere 8%. In my practice, an 8% improvement is negligible when we are fighting a 70% deficit in vascular function. You need to drink water to stay alive and protect your kidneys. Absolutely, but do not make the mistake of thinking that water is a therapy for poor circulation. It is a survival requirement, not a cure. Next on the list, at number 9, is green tea. I see many patients switching to green tea because of its reputation as a superfood. It contains catechins, specifically one called EGCG, which is fantastic for protecting the lining of your blood vessels over a period of years. But we are talking about immediate fall prevention and rapid circulatory aid. Green tea fails here for two reasons. First, the timeline is too slow. You need to drink it consistently for months to see a measurable change in arterial flexibility. Second, and more importantly, is the temperature and caffeine issue. Many seniors are sensitive to caffeine, which acts as a vasoconstrictor. It tightens blood vessels, temporarily undoing the good work we are trying to do. Furthermore, most people destroy the beneficial compounds by using boiling water. If you pour boiling water over green tea leaves, you cook the catechins and destroy their potency. Unless you are brewing this at a precise 170 degrees Fahrenheit and drinking it decaffeinated for 6 months, it is not going to help your cold feet tonight. Moving to number 8, we have tart cherry juice. This is a beverage that has gained popularity for its anti-inflammatory properties, and scientifically, there is merit there. It contains anthocyanins, which reduce stiffness in the arterial wall. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed an 18% improvement in flow after 12 weeks. That is better than water, certainly. However, I have a major issue recommending this to my geriatric patients, and that issue is sugar. A single cup of tart cherry juice can contain as much sugar as a can of soda. Even if it is natural fruit sugar, biologically, it spikes your insulin. High insulin levels are directly damaging to the endothelial lining and can actually inhibit nitric oxide production in the short term. It is a paradox. The antioxidants help you, but the sugar hurts you. For a patient who is pre-diabetic or struggling with weight, which is a large portion of the population over 60, the metabolic cost of tart cherry juice often outweighs the vascular benefit. It is expensive, it is sugary, and frankly, there are much more efficient ways to get those antioxidants without spiking your blood glucose. We need something that acts faster and safer. This brings us to a beverage that is often marketed as a miracle cure in high-end health food stores, which is pomegranate juice. From a strictly biochemical standpoint, pomegranate is superior to tart cherry because it possesses a unique mechanism of action. It contains compounds called punicolagens, which are potent antioxidants that do not just help produce nitric oxide, they actually protect the nitric oxide molecule from being destroyed by free radicals. Think of it as a bodyguard for your blood vessels. Clinical data indicates that regular consumption can increase blood flow by 22% and even reduce arterial plaque over the course of a year. That is significant. However, as a physician who has to consider the practical realities of my patients' lives, I find it difficult to endorse this as a primary therapy. The cost is often prohibitive, sometimes reaching $15 for a single bottle of the pure extract, and the sugar content is astronomical, often exceeding 30 grams per serving. I have seen patients try to fix their circulation with pomegranate juice only to destabilize their diabetic control, which ultimately damages the blood vessels further. It is a rich man's remedy with a metabolic price tag that is simply too high for the average senior to justify daily. We need to move away from these high-sugar fruit concentrates and look at something that works through a completely different pathway, which brings us to number 6 on my list: cocoa. I want to be very clear here. I am not talking about the sugary hot chocolate packets you buy for your grandchildren. I am talking about pure, bitter, dark cocoa powder. This substance is rich in flavanols, which are chemically proven to stimulate the endothelium to release nitric oxide. A meta-analysis of 42 studies confirmed that cocoa consumption can improve blood flow by 24%, and unlike the previous drinks, this effect is rapid. You can often feel a difference in warmth within 2 hours of ingestion. The problem here is compliance. Pure cocoa is incredibly bitter. It tastes medicinal, and most people cannot stomach it without adding heaps of sugar or milk, both of which blunt the absorption of the flavonols. In my practice, I tell patients that if they want the medicinal benefit, they have to treat it like medicine, not a dessert. If you can mix 20 grams of raw cocoa powder with hot water and a non-glycemic sweetener like stevia, you have a potent vasodilator. But in my experience, very few people stick with this habit long term because, quite frankly, it is not a pleasant experience, and consistency is the only thing that matters when we are trying to prevent a fall. Now we are entering the top 5, where the biochemistry becomes truly impressive. Number 5 is watermelon juice. This is a fascinating entry because it contains an amino acid called L-citrulline. Unlike the antioxidants we discussed earlier, L-citrulline is a direct precursor to nitric oxide. Your kidneys convert L-citrulline into L-arginine, which is then immediately converted into the gas that opens your arteries. The efficiency of this conversion is remarkable. Studies show arterial function improving by 28% after 6 weeks, with patients reporting warmer feet in as little as 3 hours. Physiologically, it is one of the best tools we have. However, I rank it number 5 solely due to logistics. It is simply not realistic to expect a 70-year-old patient to source, carry, and juice fresh watermelons in the middle of December. You can buy bottled versions, but they are often pasteurized to the point of uselessness or loaded with preservatives. As a doctor, I cannot prescribe a therapy that is only available for 3 months of the year. We need a year-round solution, but if you have access to fresh watermelon, do not underestimate its power to lower your blood pressure and open up those leg arteries. This leads us to the sleeper hit of vascular health, a drink that is criminally underrated by the medical community, hibiscus tea, coming in at number 4. If you are living on a fixed income and need a powerful intervention, this is likely your best option. Hibiscus is not just a tea, it is a clinical-grade extract that functions similarly to some pharmaceutical ACE inhibitors. It relaxes the blood vessels and has been shown to improve flow by 31% while dropping systolic blood pressure by double digits. The results are fast, often appearing within 10 days of daily use. I have had patients come to me after 2 weeks of drinking this tart, red tea, telling me that the heaviness in their calves has lifted. It is cheap, it is widely available, and it has 0 sugar. The reason it is not number 1 is actually due to its potency. It is so effective at lowering blood pressure that I have to issue a serious warning. If you are already taking medication for hypertension, adding 2 cups of hibiscus tea a day can drop your pressure too low, causing dizziness, which ironically increases your fall risk. It is a powerful tool, but it must be used with respect and preferably under supervision if you are medicated. We are now crossing the threshold into the top tier, the drinks that do not just support circulation, but aggressively force the body to dilate blood vessels through the nitrate pathway. At number 3 is celery juice. For years, I dismissed celery juice as a fad driven by social media influencers. But when you look at the pharmacokinetics, the science is undeniable. Celery is loaded with natural dietary nitrates. When you drink fresh celery juice, a fascinating chemical reaction occurs that starts before you even swallow. Bacteria living on the surface of your tongue convert these nitrates into nitrites. Once swallowed, your stomach acid converts those nitrites into massive amounts of nitric oxide. We are looking at a 35 to 40% increase in blood flow within 3 hours. This is significantly more powerful than the fruit juices or teas we discussed. It is efficient, it is low in sugar, and it works for almost everyone. The barrier here is the taste and the equipment. You need a juicer, and you need to tolerate drinking a glass of what essentially tastes like salty swamp water every morning. I have patients who hold their nose and down it like a shot of whiskey because they know it works. If you can get past the taste, Celery juice is a legitimate vascular therapy that creates a noticeable surge in circulation, but there are still two options that are even more potent and easier to manage. This nitrate pathway is the key to everything. You have to understand that as we age, our enzyme systems fail. The enzymes that naturally create nitric oxide in your endothelium stop working efficiently. That is why you are losing circulation. However, this nitrate pathway, where we ingest nitrates from vegetables and let our oral bacteria do the work, bypasses those broken enzymes completely. It is a backdoor into your vascular system. That is why drinks like celery juice are so effective for seniors. They do not rely on your aging machinery to work. They force the issue. But to truly maximize this, we need even higher concentrations of nitrates than celery can provide. And we need delivery systems that are easier to stick with than juicing 5 bunches of celery every morning. The next 2 drinks on my list are essentially vascular rocket fuel. They provide such a high dose of therapeutic nitrates that they can rival the effects of prescription medications, without the side effects of dizziness or liver strain. When we look at the data for the top 2, we are no longer talking about just improving flow. We are talking about changing the structure of the arterial wall itself. We have arrived at the absolute peak of vascular nutrition, the silver medal holder that serves as the most potent dietary nitrate source on the planet, the arugula smoothie. In the world of geriatric nutrition, we often overlook leafy greens because patients simply cannot chew through the volume required to get a therapeutic dose. But when you blend arugula, you unlock a density of nitrates that puts everything else to shame. Pound for pound, arugula contains more nitrates than any other vegetable, delivering approximately 480 milligrams in just 2 cups. This is a massive pharmacological dose. When you consume this, you are flooding your system with the raw materials needed to force your arteries open. Studies indicate that a nitrate-rich green smoothie can improve blood flow by 42% after just 2 weeks of daily consumption. That is a life-changing number for someone who struggles to walk to the mailbox. The challenge, of course, is the taste. Arugula is peppery and bitter, and drinking it straight is unpleasant for most. However, the recipe I give my patients is designed to mask the bitterness while preserving the potency. You take 2 cups of arugula, 1 cup of blueberries, half a banana, and a cup of unsweetened almond milk, and you blend it until it is perfectly smooth. You must drink this immediately because the nitrates begin to degrade the moment the cell walls of the plant are broken. The effect on leg circulation is often dramatic. Within a week, patients report that the cramping sensation, that tight, painful grip in the calves known as claudication, begins to diminish. Within a month, I have seen visible changes in the skin color of the lower legs, shifting from a pale, waxy tone back to a healthy pink as the capillaries reperfuse. It requires preparation and a blender, but if you are willing to do the work, the arugula smoothie is more effective than most prescription interventions I have seen for early-stage peripheral artery disease. But there is one drink that stands above them all, the gold standard of vascular health, and the #1 solution for restoring circulation to aging legs: pure beetroot juice. This is the king. If you do nothing else after watching this video, if you ignore every other piece of advice I have given, you must pay attention to this. Beetroot juice contains a specific concentration of dietary nitrates that the human body converts into nitric oxide with ruthless efficiency. We are talking about a 30 to 50% increase in blood flow within just 3 hours of ingestion. This is not speculation. This has been proven with flow-mediated dilation tests, blood pressure monitoring, and arterial stiffness assessments in clinical settings. A landmark study in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that older adults who drank beet juice daily for 15 days saw significant improvements in walking endurance and a 38% reduction in arterial stiffness. What makes beet juice unique is that it does not just provide a temporary boost, it promotes sustained vascular healing. It encourages the formation of new capillaries in oxygen-starved tissue. The protocol I recommend is simple but non-negotiable. You need to drink 8 ounces of pure beetroot juice every single morning. It must be on an empty stomach to ensure maximum absorption without competition from other proteins. You must buy the pure juice, not a cocktail mixed with apple or pear juice, which just dilutes the efficacy and adds sugar. Most grocery stores carry it now for a few dollars. The taste is earthy and sweet, and while some dislike it, I tell my patients to think of it as medication. You don't take medicine because it tastes good. You take it because it works. I must offer 2 specific medical warnings regarding beetroot juice. First, do not be alarmed if your urine or stool turns pink or red. This is a harmless condition called beeturia that affects about 15% of the population. It looks frightening, but it is medically irrelevant. Second, and more importantly, beets are high in oxalates. If you have a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones, you must consult your physician before starting this regimen, as it could increase stone formation. For the vast majority of my patients, however, this is a safe, affordable, and incredibly powerful tool. Now, let's talk about how to integrate this into your life effectively. You cannot just dabble with these drinks and expect to reverse 30 years of vascular aging. You need a protocol. Start your day, every day, with 8 ounces of beetroot juice on an empty stomach. This is your foundation. In the afternoon, if you want to accelerate your results, have a cup of hibiscus tea or a glass of celery juice. Rotate in the arugula smoothie 3 times a week to provide a broad spectrum of nutrients. But there is a critical rule that you must follow, or none of this will work. You must not use antiseptic mouthwash. This is the most common mistake I see. Remember that the bacteria on your tongue are responsible for the first step of converting nitrates into nitric oxide. If you use a strong antibacterial mouthwash, you kill those bacteria, and you essentially flush the benefits of the juice down the drain. You are sterilizing your mouth but starving your blood vessels. Stop the mouthwash and let your microbiome do its job. Also, do not expect miracles overnight. You will feel warmth returning to your extremities within hours, but true structural healing of the vessels takes time. Commit to this for 30 days. I challenge you to take a photo of your legs today. Look at the color, look at the swelling, look at the veins. Then, follow this protocol for 1 month and take another photo. The difference is often undeniable. You are not just fighting aging, you are correcting a nutritional deficiency that modern diets have created. Your great-grandparents ate nitrate-rich vegetables from the garden. We eat processed foods stripped of these compounds. By reintroducing them, you are giving your body the tools it has been screaming for. This is not just about cold feet. This is about your independence. The difference between wide, flexible arteries and narrow, stiff ones is the difference between walking confidently to the park or being afraid to leave your house because you fear a fall. You have the power to change your physiology. The science is clear, the tools are in your grocery store, and the cost is pennies compared to the price of a hip fracture. I want you to start this